Hey gang, welcome back to Mondays at the Museum. I'm Carrie and I'm here at the Anna Bemis Palmer Museum in York, Nebraska. So this week we're going to be celebrating the anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. It was issued on September 22nd, 1862, and most of you have probably taken a history class once upon a time and know the basics about it, but I am going to hit you with 5 facts that you may or may not remember about the Emancipation Proclamation. So, fact number 1. While it was issued on September 22nd, 1862, it didn't actually go into effect until January 1st, 1863. Lincoln didn't actually have a ton of support from his cabinet when it became known that he was writing it in secret. And actually, many members of his cabinet thought he was being too radical and were against it. The Secretary of State, who was William Seward at the time, suggested for him to wait and announce it after a Union victory so that it would gain the support that it needed. And he's actually quoted as saying, "Such a proclamation ought to be borne on the bayonets of an advancing army, not dragged in the dust behind a retreating one." Crafty. And Lincoln listened. So, 5 days after the victory of Antietam, which took place on September 17th, 1862, and also wasn't a full-on victory, but was enough of one to drive the Confederate Army out of Maryland, he went forward with it, and he gave the rebel states time to change their ways before he made the final Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, which, of course, they did not change their ways. Fact number 2. The Emancipation Proclamation didn't actually include all of the states. It only applied to the southern states who were rebelling against the Union. This means that the loyal border states had immunity from it and were able to keep their slaves. This is because he was told by one of his generals that he may lose a ton of Union soldiers overnight when they learn about it because it's perhaps not what they signed on for. Hard to believe. People are not all wanting slavery to end. Another reason for it is that it only applied to the rebel was because he wanted to cripple the Confederacy, and this, in part, basically would weaken their labor force and also possibly strengthen the Union Army when the abolitionists and the enslaved people would join the Union side of the fight. Fact number 3. This proclamation did not immediately free the slaves. It was a proclamation, not a law, and therefore didn't have the legal authority to do so. That came about with the 13th Amendment, which was put into place December 18th, 1865, and that did, in fact, abolish all slavery throughout the entire United States. Fact number 4. This proclamation did not stop the war. It went into effect January 1st, 1863, but the Civil War continued until April 4th, 1865, so 2 years and some months later. And then fact number 5, it had more of an impact on foreign relations than you might think. The Confederates were looking for allies, and Britain was one of them. However, Britain had its own campaign against slavery themselves, and therefore they couldn't step in to help the Confederacy, as that would be shown as supporting slavery. And I got 2 bonus facts for you today, which are also pretty interesting. Fact number 6. Lincoln considered the Emancipation Proclamation to be his crowning achievement. He's quoted as saying, "I never in my life felt more certain that I was doing right than I do in signing this paper. If my name ever goes into history, it will be for this act, and my whole soul is in it." And then final fact number 7. Lincoln's handwritten original version of the Emancipation Proclamation was destroyed in a fire in Chicago in 1871, the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. He had given it to the ladies in charge of the Northwestern Fair in Chicago to contribute to soldiers' relief and comfort, and Thomas Bryan purchased it and gave it to a soldier's home in Chicago, but the home was destroyed in the fire. Fortunately, there were 4 copies of them, and the official document is in the National Archives in D.C. According to the archives, it says it's 5 pages of text originally tied with red and blue ribbons, which were attached via a seal on the signature page, and actually most of the ribbons remain to this day. So, celebrate the anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation on September 22nd, and stay tuned because we're going to be opening soon, and we're going to have a big announcement really soon coming up with the official opening date. If you have comments or questions, shoot them over.